This episode is sponsored by NordVPN. Welcome back to the last part in making our own panel saw that happens to be made from 10 panel saws we squished together. In the last episode, we cut and filed the teeth. They are sharp, but we're about to see the limitations of just simply having sharp teeth. As you can see, it does cut the wood, but the deeper I go, the more and more resistance and friction I can feel from the actual blade. What we need is a cut that is thicker than the body of the blade, and that is achieved by setting the teeth. Hopefully you'll remember me showing you this in episode 1. The teeth go out in opposite directions. One goes that way, one goes that way. So we need to bend these teeth. But this material hasn't been particularly easy on us. In episode 1, it cracked, shortening our saw by at least 3 feet. Yeah. And then it dulled 300 junior hacksaw blades. Well, more like 7. And so the risk here as we go to setting these teeth is instead of them bending nicely outwards and accepting our influence, they just crack and break and say, Alec, to hell with you and your ideas of making a saw. So let's find out exactly what happens. Now, Mr. Paul Sellers, who is YouTube's resident expert, it would appear, on hand saws and saw sharpening and teeth setting, has more content for me to dive into and learn from. Setting saws with a hammer and punch. Little dimple on the punch. Okay, bit by bit, one hammer blow at a time.
Setting only the alternate teeth.
Setting opposite teeth. If you're interested in learning about the fine minutiae of wood saws and wood cutting tools, check out Paul Sellers' YouTube channel. Beautifully shot. Here's what we're going to go ahead and do. I'm going to use this bit of wood, a little itty bitty hammer, maybe one that's bigger than this, and a punch. What do we have here? Nope, nope, oh, nope. Any nitty bitty punch? I can't find one. Why do I have such a... Oh, yes! Yeah, that looks about the right size. Happy days. Now I've got to work out which direction the teeth go out. There is a beveled tooth and there is a flat tooth, and they alternate. That's from the filing that we did earlier. It would appear that it is the bevel that gets pushed in. So I hammer on the bevel, meaning that the flat portion of the tooth comes out. Let's see what happens. One hammer blow. Hey, it bent and didn't break. Hope you can keep up, Jamie, because I am just rocketing through. Oh! Done! One side. Flip it over onto the next. Oh my God. Oh, I hope this evens out when I do the other side. Have a look at that whoop we just gave her. Woo! Big question, did that straighten it out? No, it's still very bent. I'll tell you what though, we do definitely have a setting on there. Let's see how she cuts. Oh! That is a definite improvement. There's a significant difference in kerf. This is 62 thousandths, that is 76 thousandths. There is so much less resistance. That is a big improvement. And visually, the kerf looks so much thicker. That is sick! I just got 2 before with a saw I made. Spent a whole life thinking that there's no chance I'd ever make a saw, and here I am making one. This thing definitely needs to get straighter though. Setting those teeth has done a number on it. How about a little rubber hammer wrapped in tape? Ooh! Oh! She's straight. I said we make a handle. And not just a plastic thing that hilariously almost perfectly fits. We should try and see if we can find some interesting material or obtain some. But before we do that, there is something that I need to look up on the internet. Why the bloody hell is it all the way up there? At last, the internet. Oh no, a hacker! This episode is sponsored by NordVPN, and as you can see, browsing the internet unprotected can be quite dangerous. That's because the data that goes between your devices and the World Wide Web is unencrypted. Your internet service provider, a nefarious government, or a man-in-the-middle attack from a hacker could see exactly what you're browsing and any important data that's going back and forth. And so that's why Nord is here. As a virtual private network, they encrypt the data that goes between you and their servers that act as an intermediary between you and the websites you browse. This armor of encryption will help keep the hackers out, keeping you safe online. Aha! Try your darndest. And NordVPN also provides an incredibly practical service because you can make the websites you browse think you're browsing from anywhere in the world. This can allow you to stream shows that are not available on your favorite streaming platforms in your country, but available somewhere else. And since they're celebrating their birthday, they've extended a special offer for you. If you go to nordvpn.com/forge, you're going to get an enormous deal on a 2-year plan plus 4 additional months free. Check them out down below. The link's in the description. Let's get back to it. Knife handle, blocks, and rope. Not good enough. Let's see what we can hunt down. Hello. Would you happen to have a bit of wood that is vaguely shaped like this and vaguely interesting?
Should we make one?
Let's make one. Let's do it. I think oak would be lovely, wouldn't it?
Which way do you want the grain to go?
Good question. I think the grain wants to go in this orientation because you're going to be putting you're going to be talking on that, you know what I mean? Sick.
We've got to come up with a strategy to make the slot that the saw blade goes in.
I might have a diabolical idea for doing this in my workshop. I'm gonna borrow your bandsaw, rip out this shape, and then I'll be out of your hair. All right, so I'm making a slight modification to the original handle. I'm adding 10 millimeters or 3/8 of an inch of extra length here at the front so that I can compensate a little bit for bringing the back of the blade a little bit further away from this hole, and so I can have a little bit of extra meat in front of the mounting holes.
The plan is I take this fiberboard, I make a template that we then use to cut and route.
The actual oak handle itself.
Precisely 0 of my own intellect was used in coming up with this plan. It is very handy to have a professional woodworker as your neighbor.
Here's the plan. I've screwed this template onto our oak, and we're going to take this router cutter that has a teeny weeny little ball bearing at the bottom. The ball bearing is going to ride on our template, and then the cutter is going to cut just the oak. Wow, I hope I don't lose a finger. Oh my goodness, that works so well. Oh my goodness. I tell you what, I just love learning about new tools. I've never used such a beautiful diddy little router, but it just works a treat. Look at that. Smooth as bee's knees. So now I got to put the slot in it that the blade goes in. You just slot in here, and my plan is to use a circular saw blade. Boy, that is absolutely terrifying. I love it! So in order for the saw blade to slot in just right, we need to make cuts that are also just right. Wow, one of these looks a little bit weird. Anyway, I'm gonna make sure I've got some pencil lines and some measurements as to where we need to cut in, what the cuts need to look like for this thing to slot in perfectly. And at last, we get to use this little gem. Here we go! It's working! Yes! Woo! All right, what we've done is we've gone 33 millimeters on the x-axis to make this first portion of it. Now this has to be twisted around, so we make the second portion of it. Oh yeah! Too good. Gotta lay out for some holes, folks. Now for the first half of the hole, I only want it to go through just to the slot. Wow, I probably should have started with the small drill bit first, actually, come to think of it. And next, we're going to make the smaller diameter pilot hole for the screw that screws it all together. Lesson learned, do the small one first. See, I now have no way of indicating exactly where the middle of the hole is. You know what we call that in my world? Interference fit. The hole doesn't necessarily perfectly line up. But that means that as I screw it in, it's going to lock it all together even tighter. So it's frankly just a net positive, and you could in fact call it stroke of genius. You know, somebody in the comments recently called me a monkey. Luminek. It's only gone and worked. This is a grip strength saw. It's for training your grip strength when you're on the building site. Because you just have to squeeze it really tight. Oh, it looks so cool, it's a saw! In order to make the handle hole, I need a jigsaw. And I've been looking everywhere, and I can't find the jigsaw. I'm trying to rack my brain. What was the last project that I used a jigsaw on? And I just can't remember. How does a jigsaw just get lost? No. That's good to know I've got that.
I've got it!
What? You got it? Oh my gosh. Yeah.
There you go.
Thank you. Yep. You definitely found a jigsaw. Right, so the next day, the jigsaw is still missing. Our neighbor Matt isn't in, and so we're gonna take a little field trip. Go to my dad's workshop, to where all the making in my life began. Yes. That'll do the job. Bosh. See, just put this in here. Now I have an upside down jigsaw. Woo! Ah! I should say, do not do this at home. This is absolutely stupid. Oh, this looks dangerous. Here we go. Oh, it's amazing. This is gonna be terrifying. Woo! You woodworkers really have a good deal. This is just fabulous. Ah! No! Ah, that ain't good. Oh, it done messed her up good. Look at that nastiness. So after that disaster, I promptly cleaned up and left. I could see that the woodworkshop gods were not happy with me being there. They said, get back to where you belong and use the tools you're familiar with. So, we're gonna do just that. Tidy this puppy up on the belt grinder. Okie dokie. Now you might be thinking, Alec, you've missed out an important step. Where is the hardening on your saw? Well, what we have learned from delving into this project, thanks to you guys in the comments, is that there is a big difference between a cheap disposable saw like this, and that big difference is that this has hardened teeth. We noticed in one of the earlier episodes of this series that filing on these teeth was not at all an option, which means that when that saw gets dull, you can't sharpen it, you can only throw it away. Well, if you purchased a saw in the 1800s or the early 20th century, it probably cost a lot of money because it was much more difficult to manufacture. And so you wouldn't want to throw it away when it got dull. You would want to be able to sharpen it yourself so that it could be a tool that could be handed down through the generations. The result is, it'll probably get dull sooner, but the life of the tool is going to be extended because you can maintain it. And on that note, it is time to test. We need to have a race.
3, 2, 1, go.
that's definitely sharper.
Yeah, that was pretty quick.
12 seconds!
3, 2, 1, go. Oh, that was about the same.
Oh! Now we had originally planned to make a much larger saw than we ended up with, but it's still bigger. But making this has given me hope that maybe I could take on a saw project of a whole different magnitude in the future. What do you think about a mosaic Damascus? I mean like fancy mosaic Damascus tenon saw build. I'm talking a proper fancy saw. Let us know down in the comments if you want us to do that. Thank you to NordVPN for sponsoring this episode, nordvpn.com/forge. And thank you as ever for watching while we learn about all sorts of new things.